Hi, so I wanted to make this first video as kind of introduction to myself, but also talk about what the Great Awakening is and give my own awakening experience. And also just talk a little bit about what I hope to accomplish with this YouTube channel, like why am I even doing this? So I think we'll start there. Some of you may have heard of the Great Awakening before in its relation to QAnon, and some of you have maybe never heard of either of those things, and that's cool too. I'm not even going to attempt to get into Q in this introduction just because it really requires its own video or even series of videos, which I actually plan on doing next, so stay tuned for that. But basically, ever since I started posting about Q on my social media, I have been getting a lot of private messages about it from friends, family, and total strangers. And one of the things that I was noticing about these messages was that whether or not they started off kind of angry or combative, and a lot of them did, they were actually turning into some very positive and productive conversations. And a lot of these same topics and ideas and thoughts and feelings were coming up in each of them. It was almost like I was having the same conversation over and over and over again, just with different people. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool and perhaps even important to maybe have these conversations in a more public forum where more people could not only observe them, but also contribute and participate, and so more people were benefiting from them. So that's essentially the idea behind this YouTube channel, is just to create dialogues. So what is the Great Awakening? I believe if you Google it, you will find some historic event from like the 1700s that was also called the Great Awakening. That is not what we are talking about here. We are talking about the more current Great Awakening, newer and hipper, that essentially refers to the idea of a worldwide raising of consciousness that's happening. And it just seems that there are more and more people around the world that are expanding their thinking and actually opening up their minds to possibilities of things that they've been closed off to in the past, and just seeking more knowledge outside of, the realm of what they've been told. So part of it also has to do with the idea that there are some major truths about our world that have been hidden from us. So we have all been allowing others to vet our information for us and spoon feed us narratives. And we just accept it because we trust their authority. And I've been guilty of it too. But there is a vast shift currently happening where massive amounts of people have all stopped sleepwalking, in the sense that, they're letting others tell them what to think and feel and believe. And they are deciding to actively look into things for themselves. More often than not, uncovering major contradictions and even falsehoods to the narratives that we've all been given. So people all over the world with different lives and backgrounds and interests and areas of expertise are all independently searching for the truth and sharing their findings with others, and somehow all coming up with a similar big picture. My awakening experience started almost exactly a year ago. So I really dove headfirst into this in February 2018. But previous to that, I had always sort of joked with people calling myself a conspiracy theorist, even though I knew that term was created as a stick to beat people with who just challenged the official narrative to anything, and I saw something majorly wrong with that. I just wasn't into arguing with people over the things I believed. And some of these things get very heated. People are very passionate about them and get very angry at you for not seeing things the exact way that they see them. So it was almost a way of just disarming them by making fun of myself and calling myself, a conspiracy theorist. And although I was fascinated by, the strange possibilities of our world and had this really undeniable intuition of that there was more out there than we were being told, I really didn't let myself go too far down the rabbit hole. That is until last year, when I began looking into a particular conspiracy theory that we won't name here because of censorship, but we'll say that it has to do with some very dark and disgusting things involving children. And it is commonly referred to with the name of a flat Italian dish made of bread, cheese, and sauce. Anyway, I had avoided looking into it for a really long time. One, because of the terrible nature of what it was about. And two, because actually one of the first things I ever heard about it was that it had been debunked. So why put any energy into something so horrific when it's already been debunked? But one night in my conspiracy theory group on Facebook, the topic came up, and for some reason this time I just had this intense urge to look into it for the first time. And I remember thinking to myself, well, if it isn't real, then I'm going to find that out and it'll be a relief. But if there's even a small chance that it is, then it's actually kind of despicable of me to turn a blind eye and pretend that it doesn't exist without even bothering to look into it for myself. So I started to research. I did not sleep that night. I cannot tell you the things that I found and saw with my own eyes, and I couldn't believe what was just out there for public consumption if you were willing to just look. I was floored. I was floored by it, and I didn't understand why this wasn't the only thing that people were talking about. Why wasn't this the only thing on the news? I wasn't hearing about this anywhere. The only thing I was hearing was that this was debunked. So it blew my mind. And I wish I would have known then how important this research would be, because I wish I would have documented my process, writing down each site I went to and, what I clicked on. Because as I'm sure a lot of you know, online research is not linear. It's like a coral reef, right? You start somewhere and it takes you over here, and then you click this link and it takes you over there, then you click this link and it takes you over here. And it just keeps branching and branching and branching, right? So going back to try to retrace your steps is almost impossible, especially because of censorship. I had a few links written down actually that I tried to go back to months later, and they had already been scrubbed. They were gone from the internet. So that was really frustrating. But after my research, which ended up lasting 3 days and 3 almost completely sleepless nights, I was a completely changed person. On that final night, I literally went through all 5 stages of grief, and I could feel immediately that I would never be the same again. It was really heavy. And I woke up that next morning and I was like, great, now what? Now what do I do? And I went back online looking for help or direction. I don't even know what I searched for or what I was hoping to find, but thankfully that day is when I found out about Q. And I say thankfully because I literally don't know how I could have survived much longer with the information I now had if I had not found some light at the end of literally the darkest tunnel I could imagine, some hope. As I said before, I won't get too much into what Q is here, but I will say that Q is essentially like a laser pointer that shows you what subjects to look into in order to find out the truth about the world that we live in. You end up finding out that not only are some of the conspiracy theories that we've all heard of possibly true, but that they appear to all be connected. And there are some terrible things happening in the world at the hands of some very powerful people. And ultimately, and I think most importantly, you end up finding out that there are good forces operating behind the scenes to do something about it currently. So I spent the majority of last year just researching everything I could get my hands on. It was literally all I did last year was research. And it started online, which kind of sucked because my computer crashed. And so I was doing most of this stuff by my phone. But then I moved on to books and documentaries and found other researchers who were looking into these same subjects and posting their findings on 8chan and YouTube and even on Twitter and in Facebook groups. And it was uncanny to me how aligned their findings were with what I had been uncovering myself in the privacy of my own home. So it really made me believe there was something to all of this. These topics cover everything from politics to spirituality, science, religion, history, you name it. Literally everything that we deem important. And the spiritual stuff was really what grabbed me first. That was what I was most interested in. So that was where my research tended to gravitate. But, like I said, everything is connected. So you can start off with one topic, but it will eventually lead you back into the others. You almost can't help but get back into all of the topics once you get far enough into one of them. So the interesting thing is that you've got all of these people out there worldwide researching these important topics completely independently and sharing their findings with others. It's almost like each person and their research is a tiny pixel on this big picture that's all coming together and becoming more clear. And the result is that we are creating this big picture that is almost totally cohesive. And I think that alone is pretty telling. What started to become kind of very clear to me, at least, was how much we've been lied to and manipulated and really pitted against one another. And I noticed so much manufactured division and just fear and this clinging to beliefs to the point where discussion becomes useless. And people seem unwilling to even consider anything that doesn't already align with their current beliefs. And I was once there myself. This is a super dangerous place to be in, I think, because we need open dialogue. As heavy as some of these topics are, it's actually imperative that we're able to talk about them. And, I think a good example of that would be the bread, cheese, and sauce topic that I brought up earlier. You even say the term and you're shut down by censorship online or even in person. People will jump down your throat. We shouldn't fear discussion. It's like they say, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Even when we're sure that we have the answers, we should constantly be challenging our own beliefs and even our so-called facts. Real facts are not threatened by challenge or re-examination, right? If a fact is a fact, it's going to come back to you. So what I hope to accomplish with this YouTube channel is not to change minds necessarily, but just to open them and to create dialogue, to really make it okay to discuss important things, the really hard stuff, and to not shut each other down. I will say that I am an expert in no area and an authority on nothing. So I'm going to get some things wrong from time to time, but I think that's just what happens in research. There's going to be some trial and error. But I promise I will always be forthcoming with my information or lack thereof, and admit when I find out I've been wrong about something, and just be totally candid about my process. The point is not to get you to believe me or to agree with me. It's really just to get you looking into things for yourself with an open mind. So on this channel, I am going to take you through some of the information that I found this past year that really shook up my belief systems and got me to open up my mind. The things that amazed me and shocked me and horrified me and ultimately gave me hope. It's been a very wild ride, and I just want to continue on it with you. I'm excited to see the things that we uncover together, because really, to me, this is a collective effort, and it will just be cool to wake up together.